and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new, and welcome to my May reading wrap up. Okay, I've read an obscene number of books again in May. I don't really know how it happens. Well, actually, I do know. I cannot handle silence, and I need audiobooks to help with the with the need of no silence. And I also need audiobooks a lot of the time to so that I'm not distracted. My brain is wandering, things are happening in my life, and yeah, a lot of things. So I'm gonna go through what I read because there is an obscene number. I'm gonna go from at least I'm knocking things off my physical TBR. So let's get cracking. So the book that I started the month with was Fair Catch by Candy Steiner. I enjoyed this. Was this my favorite? No, it got 3 stars. It was a good time. I'm ignoring a lot of the issues that I had with it for a good time. If you do want to see my full thoughts, I have a reading vlog where I read some Candy Steiner books. So that is on there. I had a good time. I thought it was very entertaining, just not my favorite. I then gave Hannah Cohen another chance and I read Her Greatest Mistake and Her Greatest Adventure. I did these on audio. I loaned out the audiobooks from Libby and I really enjoyed these. I gave Her Greatest Mistake 3.5 stars and Her Greatest Adventure 4 stars. I am trying to be a little bit more critical with my ratings, I give a lot of 4 stars, but I would say based on my new rating scale, which I'll insert here alongside my spice rating scale, a 3.5 star is a good book that I would recommend to most people. It's just not my favorite, and a 4 star is a book that I loved and recommend. It was really, really great. It just wouldn't be a reread. 4 stars, 4.5 stars and above get reread. With Her Greatest Mistake, this is a fake dating second chance. Maddox and Braxton were childhood friends to lovers. Then her dad kind of screws him over when he's getting signed, and they basically kind of become enemy families, even though they were family friends and next door neighbors as kids. Then they are reunited to sort of get rid of her dad, who's trying to tarnish Maddox's image, and Maddox was caught out with his brother, who's a bit of a drug addict, and people are like, oh, Maddox is on drugs, blah, blah, blah. So they are fake dating to try and repair his image, and they fall back in love. It is quite quick to heal, but I also kind of understand why, because these two never got over each other, were always in love with each other, never really moved on. So that for me is sort of why I really enjoyed it, and I'm okay with that. 3.5 stars. As for Her Greatest Adventure, we have Adeline and Cooper. They are, again, childhood friends. Adeline is Maddox's sister. She is a bit of an influencer model type. She has planned a European vacation with her best friend. Her best friend's had to pull out because she has to move house. So her brother's best friend, who's 10 years older than her, is going on this trip with her. They accidentally get married in Ireland, and now they're back and trying to work things out. Again, this is probably a 1 star spicy rating. There isn't a lot of spice. I think it was 3 scenes from memory. But it was a good read, very entertaining. Maddox got what he deserved because he was a bit of annoying, not wanting them to be together. Probably my favorite in the series so far. I'm very intrigued to see how I go with the next book in this series. And these were picked for my prompt picks. So Her Greatest Mistake was a book that has been sitting on your shelf for longer than 6 months. I purchased this at Rare in 2023, so that's why it's been on there for longer than 12 months. And then Her Greatest Adventure was purple on the cover. The next book that I read was actually my black spine pick, but I don't own it. It was Emperor by Runix. This is a mafia romance. I think I gave it a 2 spicy rating, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. This is my favorite in the series so far. I did really enjoy this book. This is childhood crush, second chance. She is the daughter of the maid that works for his family. He's the mafia don. His dad banishes her and says she can't come back, and then he's obsessed with her, keeps going back to her. They accidentally get pregnant. There is so much that happens. It's kind of hard to explain and especially because the plot is overarching through the entire series. It is told in 3rd person. I don't know, there was just something a little bit missing for it to be a 5 star for me. Then I read Love Letter to Whiskey. Again, if you want to see my full thoughts about this book, check out the vlog. It's up here. I gave it a 4 stars. Now this is right person, completely consistently having wrong time interactions. They can never work it out. Lots of miscommunication, lots of back and forth, lots of cheating. But for me, it kind of made sense. I really wanted this to be a 5-star, but it was just a little bit short. But overall, I did really like it. Don't want to say too much because I feel like you should go into this book blind. Please check your trigger warnings. But it is very angsty, so if you're in the mood for an angsty book, it is the perfect book for that. Read Well and Truly, Parked by Lauren Blakely. This is a why choose hockey romance. There is like forced proximity, dating lessons, 1 week only, friends to lovers, and also rivals to lovers. She works for the rival hockey team. These guys are friends. There's no sword crossing. It is got a 3 spicy rating. I did really enjoy this. This is my favorite probably in the series so far, and I'm like sitting on like a 3.54-star rating because I really quite enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it because they're just a really fun spicy time. The spice is probably like half of the storyline, but I just enjoyed these 4 characters coming together. I then read my only 5-star read from the month, and that is Fragile Sanctuary. This is the ARC copy. I think I technically gave it a 4.75, only because there's been a lot of violence against women happening in Australia at the moment, and it just kind of triggered me a little bit. But that's not a critique of the book, so technically it is a 5-star. Like, you know, that's sort of how I feel about that. But this is, it's got Touch Her and Die in it. It is Hate to Love, Age Gap, Grumpy Sunshine, Forced Proximity, Brother's Best Friend, Broken Hero, Ex-Profiler. There's a belt scene. There's a funny grandma, found family, small town, and a serial unaliver. I think that tells you everything. This is by Catherine Cowles. She is the queen of romantic suspense. I adored this book. I adore anything she puts out. They're just so good. She nails found family every single time, and this is no exception to that rule. Friend, he's a former FBI profiler. Something happens and he needs to step away, so he comes to this small town to work on like his best friend's construction company. She is a part of this found family. She's basically adopted into her best friend's family. So there is siblings and step siblings within this group of people. It has a 1 spicy rating. There's an age gap of about 8 years, and I really enjoyed the way these two fell in love. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I think this is probably one of my top fave Catherine Cowles. I'm currently working through my way through her backlog now that it's June. Always check your trigger warnings. They are kind of heavy. There's always some sort of guy trying to kill somebody, or someone trying to kill somebody, but these are great. I then read these 2 books by Missy Walker back to back. I finished this entire Elite Men of Manhattan series this month, but we have Forbidden Love and Forbidden Lust. These are a duet. Forbidden Lust ends on a cliffy and then leads straight into Forbidden Love. These are Brother's Best Friend, age gap, I believe, also of 8 years. These get a 1 spicy rating, and they both get about a 3.5-4-star rating. These are chef's kiss steamy romances. They are not too spicy, but the perfect amount of spice for me. I did a full review on my TikTok page if you want to have a look at that. Like I said, this is Brother's Best Friend. She's had a crush on him forever. Catches a boyfriend cheating on her again, and she had rented a house in the Hamptons with him, but he's rented it, so she can't go back to the house. So her brother sends his best friend to come and pick her up from the nightclub that they were at, and they really struggling to find their attraction. So she decides, let's have like 7 days of fun, and after that 7 days we can go back to normal, forget it ever happens. But does that happen? No. So you'll have to read this to sort of find out what happens. The next book that I read was for my 5-word title book pick, which was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Now, I enjoyed this, but I'm sitting on a 3-star. Something about it just didn't grip me. It's a thriller. Can't say too much. It is a very popular book, so most people would enjoy it. But I really struggle with some thrillers sometimes. I really need to like be blown away, or they end up being like a 3-star book. So do with that information what you will. The next book that I read was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Foster, one of the most like popular books on BookTok. This was for the book prompt pick of Book with Magic. I had a great time. I gave this a 4.5 stars. It didn't get a 5 because it didn't make me cry, but I loved this book so much. I buddy read it with Jazz, my friend Jazz. She's also an author. We have just started a book club, so if you want to join our book club, the link is in the description. We are reading a romance this month, and it is called Such a Small World by a local Aussie author, which is always a plus for us. But yeah, The 7-Year Slip was very good. It is about this girl, Clementine, who inherits her auntie's apartment, but the apartment is magical. and it always moves like 7 years back in the future. And one day she is there and runs into this guy who is apparently renting the apartment for the summer. And yeah, it's their journey of love and then their journey of reuniting 7 years in the future. And it's a journey of like finding yourself as a woman and dealing with grief and just growth. It's a beautiful book. I'm very excited for her next book. Very curious to see how I feel about it, but it was great. I think it got like a 1 or a 1.5 spicy rating. It's not overly spicy. I then went back into Candy Steiner and I had an absolute banger from Miss Candy Steiner, and that is Watch Your Mouth. This was a road trip romance, brother's best friend, again another age gap. Clearly there's a formula to the books that I enjoy. It's always brother's best friend and it's always an age gap, so do with that information what you will. This got a 2 spicy rating, 4.5 stars. Like I said, this is not a college, just an NHL hockey romance. She has just gone through a breakup. She wants to run away for a little trip, so they decide to go on a road trip together and naturally fall in love in the process. It was just chef's kiss. I loved this book so much. Next, I read The Finisher by Runix. This got a 4 stars. I think this was, what was this? Marriage of Convenience but Second Chance. So these two were together as they were younger, and then he gets into an accident and forgets about her, and she needs a husband, so she finds him again and is like determined to get him to remember her. So she's like, let's get married, and it's their journey back together. And obviously the mafia plot is still ongoing. I loved The Finisher. Not my favorite, but I loved it. It was close to like top for me. My non-fiction pick for the month was I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I don't rate my non-fiction memoirs. I just think it's a bit icky. This was obviously harrowing, but personally, if you have seen anything about this memoir online, I potentially think it's not worth reading. I think there's enough out there that we know like what happens. There's nothing really overly added into this book to warrant reading it and experiencing that trauma, unless you really want to experience that trauma, because it is harrowing. But yeah, like I said, it was interesting to read. My next book was another TBR prompt picked, which was the next book in a series that you have not finished, and for that I did Astra Parker Doesn't Fail. This was great. I enjoyed it. I loved Astra Parker's redemption arc and seeing her journey into finding her sexuality, and like as you go through this book, you like, it's so blaringly obvious that she was never into men, or at least not completely into men. And I loved seeing her grow. I loved seeing her stand up to her mum. I gave it a 4 stars. I enjoyed it. Loved seeing her like heal her relationship with Delilah. I then finished the Dark Verse series, or caught up. There is one more coming, which isn't, I don't think that there is a release date for it. But The Annihilator got a 3.5 stars. Not my favorite. I enjoyed it. This is like, he often kills the men that hire her because she's like an escort, and they love. I don't know, it was a bit an odd one. I would still recommend. I am now fully caught up on the Kings of the Ice series by Candy Steiner as well, and I read Learn Your Lesson. This got a 4 stars. This is Single Dad Nanny. She is his daughter's school teacher, and then he ends up hiring her as a nanny as well, but he also gives her spicy lessons. It is great. It is very good. I enjoyed this one so much. 4 stars, probably a 2 spicy rating. Not a lot to say because it's just a fun time, but I did really enjoy their romance. Next we have Tempt Our Fate by Kat Singleton. Now I had started this, didn't finish it, and then I reread it this year. 4.5 freaking stars. This is billionaire enemies to lovers romance. Forced proximity. He buys the property next to her bakery and to be like an art studio, and it's glad that I finally finished it. I enjoyed the spice. If you like Deg, this is a great book for Deg. Yeah, top tier. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 2 spicy rating. It is probably one of the most spicy small town romances I've ever read. I adored this book. The MMC had such, like, his backstory really made me sad. Had a really sad upbringing, and my sweet boy, I loved it though. I really had a good time. My next read was from my TBR prompt pick. This was a cozy read. It was To So Philip with Love. This is Eloise's story in the Bridgerton series. I don't want to talk about this too much. It's not my favorite. I gave it 2.5 stars. This series overall is not my favorite. They started a new series, which is part of the Wilder Family series by Carla Sorensen. I read her Washington Wolves series last year and I had a great time. So I started with one only and it was great. 3.5 stars. This is a single dad marriage of convenience. He wants to sort of retain custody of his daughter. His ex-wife is like going away for a period of time and he wants to like reassure her that the daughter will be fine. And she is an interior designer, so she's renovating his apartment, redecorating his apartment, and she wants to get married because her dad is dying and he is dying and she wants him to have the experience of walking someone down the aisle. So she's like, I'm gonna get married, and so they do. It was great. I loved it. Probably a 1 spicy rating, but it was a very good book. I had a great time. Highly recommend Carla Sorensen's writing. She just knows what she's doing. I then read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is also a TBR prompt pull, and this was a small town romance. I did give this a 4-star and it is getting a 2 spicy rating. It just was a little bit not my favorite, just a little bit. I think the first book in the series is always a little bit underdeveloped and doesn't have that same level of romance that other books in a series does. I'm very excited to see where the rest of the series goes, but this is a single dad, brother's best friend, workplace romance. He is also a billionaire. He is the hottest billionaire at the moment and he's always had a crush on his best friend's sister. She's come back and needs a job, so she starts working for him and he's helping her look after this child that's come into his life after he was a sperm donor. Now, do I fully agree that he's a single dad and the way that this unfolds is a little bit far-fetched? Yes, but can Ford Grant get it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So 4 stars, solid read. Next is the big one. This was my pick for an even number of pages. This is a chonker. Unfortunately, this is only getting a 4-star as well. I think a good 100 pages could have come out of this. It did drag a little bit at the end, but I did really enjoy being back with these characters and seeing their happy ending. I am really happy with BJ and Magnolia's conclusion. It was quite sad. There was moments where I was quite emotional, but yeah, 4 stars. Not the best book in the series, but very, very close. Next is Lost Love by Missy Walker. Now this is best friend's older brother and love triangle. I had a great time with this. This follows Connor, who is Lord's brother from the previous duet, and her best friend Pepper. These two start hooking up and he's like engaged to be married, doesn't want to be married to this girl. So they're hooking up and things happen. I enjoyed Connor's redemption arc. I enjoyed the way that Connor finally stood up for what he wanted. It was great. Again, steamy, short, perfect like billionaire romance. I loved it. 4 stars. Great time. Next is another book that I needed to like knock off my physical TBR. Now this is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I adored Monday's Not Coming. This is also like a similar sort of suspenseful YA novel, but this was utterly harrowing. I didn't realize where this was going at the start. Oh my god, this is somewhat inspired by Tiffany Jackson's own story in the Hollywood industry, as well as like R. Kelly and that kind of thing, where like a fully grown man takes advantage of a young girl who's under 18 because she wants to be famous. Things happen, the guy ends up dead. It's kind of wild. This is harrowing. I didn't know how to rate this. Please check your trigger warnings. I was incredibly triggered with this. I couldn't rate it just because I didn't know how to. This is a YA book and the content in this is insane. Was it beautifully written? Yes. But holy gosh, was this a lot. My last book that I pulled from my TBR jar that I did read was Bridesmaid for Hire, and this was something that was published this year. This is Brother's Best Friend, Forced Proximity, Fake Dating. Our FMC has come to this island. Where was it? Mexico? I think it's Mexico, to have a relaxing sort of vacation. She is a wedding planner. He has come to replace his boss on this company where like his boss's daughter is getting married and his boss was invited, so he's coming instead and he needs to sort of win the guy over so his pitch can win. It is extremely sort of far-fetched and a bit ridiculous, but it was a good time. I gave it a 4 stars. A lot of miscommunication though. The third act breakup was the thing that sort of let it down for me a little bit. I did read this within like a few hours, but they're fake dating because she wants also to get into this guy's good graces, and she's like being a stand-in bride, a bridesmaid for the daughter because one of her best friends can't make it, and this is like part of the new business model that she wants to start. And yeah, things happen. It is a very dramatic, a lot of chaos unfolds, but it was a good time. The next book that I read was Omega's Obsession by Sarah Blue. Now, I was like kind of skeptical going into Sarah Blue because Catherine Moon is a fantastic Omegaverse author and she's my favorite. But I had a good time with this. It was fun, it was spicy. The plot was a little bit far-fetched. This is like brother's best friend. She's had a crush on him for years. She runs away from home because her dad's crazy. 3 stars. Kind of like Days of Our Lives, but make it Omegaverse. Still a good time. 3 spicy rating. Actually, I lied. This was the last book that I actually read. That was a TBR prompt, and this was a historical fiction pull. When He Was Wicked. This got a 4 stars. I adored this. This is love after loss. She's falling in love with her deceased husband's cousin who inherits the title that he had. This is Francesca's story from Bridgerton. She's so much more robust. The spice is a little bit more, but Michael Sterling, I will give you my firstborn because you are a man I will love for the rest of my life. Pretty Rings and Broken Things by Kat Singleton. Loved, adored, 4.5 stars. Marriage of Convenience, rival families. There's a guy that's like threatening her reputation, so her dad marries her off to like his biggest competitor's son, and it's also like taking my identity. I won't tell you how though, but the spice in this is so good. He is like one of my favorite MMCs this year. Oh my god, he loves Taylor Swift. He adores his woman. Top tier romance. I think it's like a 2 spicy rating. Yeah, 4.5 stars, absolute banger. And then started another Elizabeth O'Rourke book. Now, Elizabeth O'Rourke books are kind of hit or miss for me, but I started A Deal with the Devil. This is a workplace boss assistant romance. Her friend is going away to adopt a baby and he needs her to replace him and says you can't, like, she's like, don't sleep with him, don't sleep with him. So she is trying not to, but she's really attracted to him. He's a plastic surgeon for like celebrities, so kind of like Mr. Miami vibes, and everything's done sort of secretively, but it was great. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was a good time, good, like enjoyable book. I don't think her books will ever be absolute winners for me because they don't have a lot of depth, but they are fun, definitely enjoyable. I will definitely be reading more from her. I then read Missing Love by Missy Walker. This was my favorite in this series, 4.5 stars. This is like an enemies to lovers workplace romance. She started her new like interior design company and he's like trying to take over his grandmother's business. They can't stand each other. You can see how that's gonna go. Great time. So much fun. I highly recommend checking that out. I did finish up the series and I read the novella, which sort of finishes up the series and you see where they are, and we are attending Ari and Olivia's wedding from Missing Love. It's a novella. I think I gave it 3 stars only because it's a novella and you can't really rate it higher, but it was a good time. I really loved seeing where everyone was after the end of their books. And the final book that I read this month was Faith and the Dead End Devils by Catherine Moon, 4 stars. This is, I can't say too much because the plot kind of continues over from the previous book, but it was great. She's like being chased by this Omega hunting agency, and I did try and read Mr. Garcia by Tail Swan, but I'm gonna have to read this with my eyeballs. I tried to read it on audio. I had to return the audiobook because it is narrated by Shane East, and Shane East narrates the After series, and that is now giving me residual trauma. So I didn't read this. So this is everything that I read. Well, everything that I read that I own physical copies of this month. I hope you guys enjoyed this monthly wrap up. It was probably very long, but stay tuned for more videos. Please tell me what your top read of the month is for this month, obviously, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.